Whose is that?
Good evening. Thank you for coming tonight. I know it's short notice for everybody. We've had we had a breakfast here last year, and we had 550 people in this arena, and it was for a Veterans Day breakfast. Johnny Lives, a Vietnam veteran, talked at that time. Johnny Lives, there's a book about him called Mud Soldier. He's one of the most decorated soldiers of the Vietnam era, and he was able to talk multiple times to the crowd. So we were lucky to have him last year. This year, because of coronavirus, the sponsor did not want to risk having lots of people here. So we have a minimal crowd tonight, and we're lucky to have two guest speakers here. We have Cheryl Musgrave that I'm going to introduce in just a minute, and we're going to have Eric Schwinker. He's in the back. He's a retired general. He has, I think, 2 or 3 stars. Those are a lot of stars. But today is Veterans Day, and half the people in this room are veterans. And we can't thank you enough, veterans. Veterans are who protect our Constitution. If you go read about the Constitution, it's our full freedom. It gives us our freedom. And we have government officials that help protect our Constitution. Our policemen help protect our rights. And if any of you live in another country, and many of you in the military have experienced other countries, and only till you go and live in another place, you realize what we have here. We have good plumbing, we have good streets, we have good attorneys, we have good streets, we have good everything. And go live in another world or another country, and you will realize what we have. And we get it because of veterans. Veterans help keep our freedom, protect our Constitution. They risk their lives. They all take an oath to get in the military that says, I will protect our Constitution. And that's what they're protecting, our Constitution. And you are senior enough to know how important that is. So our first person to talk tonight, luckily we've had Cheryl Musgrave. She's Vanderbilt County Council, and she's done a lot for the community for the last several decades. So Cheryl, I'd like you to say a few words before our guest speaker comes.
Thank you.
You got to talk out loud. We have a technical issue.
They didn't pay their bills last.
I'm very honored to be here to speak about Veterans Day to a group of veterans. First, just let me say thank you for your service. I grew up in the military. I know what it means when a military parent goes to service. It's actually even hard to discuss. It means so much to know that you have given your time to protect our freedoms, because that's the most important thing that we have here in America. We have freedom in a degree that no one else has, and the military is the bulwark against the loss of that freedom. There is no more important role than being a soldier in the American Army. And the American Army is the strongest in the whole world. We have a unique position protecting our freedoms and helping spread freedom around the world. And you veterans, you gave that to us. You preserved that for us. I hope that we don't have to send anyone else to protect that for us, that we can keep it peacefully. But I know that if we have to do it again, we're willing to do it again. And to share these words with you today at the War Museum, with all the armaments that you see here, things that transformed the very town that we live in. It took Evansville from a smaller place and boom, overnight, grew it to its biggest population for a long, long time. Created jobs, and spun off the industry that keep us going today. This is a special place, and it is brought to us by veterans. And once again, I just want to thank you for your service today on Veterans Day.
Before I introduce Eric, there's two things that she said. One of them to help the freedom of the United States, but freedom of other countries. World War II helped give 70 million people freedom from dictators. 70 million was an amazing statistic that people were dominated by dictators prior to that time. The second thing she said was about population of Evansville. You look all the way over there, there's a Jeep at the other end. That Jeep was given by Mr. Caddick to this museum. Mr. Caddick bought the place called that McCurdy owned.
Hercules.
Called Hercules. Hercules had 30,000 employees at the turn of the century, 1900 and 1920. So that helped Evansville grow with Bossy Globe and many other things. Then all of a sudden, the 1940s happened and Evansville grew again. The highest single growth of any city in the United States in 1942 of any other city. And what Cheryl was referring to is we just have some of the machines that were built in World War II to help defend our country. But we had the highest per capita population working for the war effort in the world from 1942 to 1945 in this little city. That's why we are spending all this time creating this memorabilia, so our ancestors will remember what was done here from 42 to 45. And it's also helped our population remain as high as it is. So now our guest speaker tonight is Eric Schwinker. He has gone to a lot of high schools. We've given this lecture with Donna Bone and different talks to the high schools for 3 years. Eric would attend. And Eric is, I'm not going to say his age, but he's in his 90s. And I helped carry a big bench with him one time, and I was more exhausted than him. He can only do 100 push-ups, but he only does them every other day. And I cannot do that many push-ups. Eric tells me not to tell that story all the time, but I'm going to say it anyway. So we're very few flag rank around here. Admiral Kimmel from Henderson, Poindexter up north, Tuttle from up there in Hatfield, and we had a guy in the city council, General Evans. So those are the only flag ranks around here. Very rare if you get a flag rank. That means way up high. That means 07 and above. And I think he's 09 or something, 08 or 09. That's as high as it goes. So he had World War II experience, and he had experience all the way up until not too long ago. But I want to thank all the veterans that are here. You see the veteran hats. You see these individuals. I'm telling you, this is what this day is about. And Eric's going to talk a little bit. Come on up here, Eric.
Thank you, Mark. First thing I'm going to do is punish you all for looking at my full face. I don't want to talk through one of these things. The gentleman who introduced me happens to be a veteran, a regular Navy man, 4 stripes. In Navy language, that's a captain. In GI talk, that's a colonel. So he didn't just fall off a turnip truck. And besides that, in his spare time, he's the premier oncologist in the whole area, multi-state area, to say the least. And his dad was a very good friend of mine. His dad didn't have anything to do with the P-47, but he sure did with the LST down in the river. But I guess I can lean on this thing. Just wanted to talk to you a little bit. Now, one of the reasons, of course, that I was invited to talk to you this evening is because, as he said, I'm an old soldier. And 97 years old.
Good.
World War II. And I wasn't born in Evansville. Probably most of you were. Because Evansville is pretty unique, I think, in a great part of the United States, because an awful lot of people who were born here and who were raised here stay here. And the few of us that didn't stay, as soon as we got the chance, we came back. Because this is, I'm going to roar at you, this is a great place to live. However, I moved to Evansville when I was 4. So I've got 93 years seniority. So I think that qualifies me as a local yokel. And being a World War II veteran, I did go in 1943 and was in for 3 years and then went into the reserve. From there, I segued into the Army National Guard, and from there into the National Guard Reserve. All of my non-active duty time, all my reserve duty was done right here at Evansville. So I have very close ties and connections. So I think that's one of the reasons that I was asked to come out here and say a couple of words. The only reason I'm pulling this thing out, this is a 15-page speech. Just wanted to just mention Armistice Day, today, November 11th, and it of course was originated in Armistice Day in 1926. That's when it was officially named by Congress as an official holiday. An Armistice Day celebrating the signing of the armistice on the 11th day of the 11th month at the 11th hour. So I guess we're a little late in terms of the 11th hour. We're more like the 17th hour, going on 18th. So then by definition, Armistice Day was celebrating and recognizing the veterans of World War I. And so they went along with that for quite a while. As I say then, the Congress in 1926 declared Armistice Day as a holiday, and in 1938 it was then declared a national holiday. So it was picking up steam. But it wasn't until 1954 that Congress changed the name of Armistice Day to Veterans Day. So we not only honor the veterans of World War I, none of whom are here tonight. My dad was one. Probably several of your fathers, I know, grandfathers were in that also. But it changed it so as to recognize all veterans. Because not only did the Doughboys contribute mightily to our great nation in 1917 and 1918, but the whole activity started some 250, 260 years ago. And so today we are honoring and remembering all veterans, starting from way back on up to present. I think just lately was one of the big 250 or something like that anniversary of the Marines. And of course I always like to tell them that they're nice kids, but they're kind of late. Because I was in the National Guard, and that was the first ones, before the Marines were born. But that's all right. We won't get into that. But being here in Evansville then, and I didn't go on active duty until 43. So in 42, I went to work at the shipyard. And was working down there, and I was a mail clerk. And I thought I had a pretty responsible job, and of course, the Navy was running the shipyard, and so there was a government office right there in the office building, and there were Navy men in there with their uniforms and stripes and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of the official military correspondence then came into there, including, when necessary, correspondence for the P-47 Republic Aviation Plant that at 42, of course, was being built. And they built that in a hurry. I think it took they started in early 42, and by something like October or November in 42, they were rolling finished airplanes out of the end of the plant onto the runway and taking them off. But as a mail clerk then, and handling some of the government correspondence for military people here in Evansville, we got a lot of mail that was bound for the Army people who were building the airport, the plant to build the 47, P-47. And you notice I said, Army people? Well, you mean it's an airplane. But the Army had the airplanes. There wasn't an Air Force then, fellas, unfortunately. Randy, sorry about that. So, what we used to call the brown shoe Air Force. Because back in World War II, all the Army people wore brown shoes, didn't wear black. That came later. So I had some familiarity with the installation that went up right down the road here, all 1 million square feet. And the one that turned out this beautiful piece of equipment behind me. So I'm just very happy to see all of the veterans here, just for the heck of it. Don't anybody stand. They used to say, all right, now you veterans stand up, don't you stand. But if you would, could you raise your hand if you were a veteran of World War II? Well, oh, there he is back there.
All right.
Now, I hate to say this, he's overnight. So when he comes in the room, I stand up. You're supposed to be polite to your elders. So.
Birthday next week.
Awesome.
Okay, then. Do we have any Korean War veterans in here? Okay, I wasn't on active duty in the Korean War. I spent the whole Korean War with the Indiana Army National Guard. We were never called up. They called up 6 National Guard divisions in the Korean War. They sent 2 to Germany, they sent 2 to Korea, and they kept 2 here in the States. And we found out after the war was over that we were number 7. So at any rate then, I guess we don't have any Korean War veterans in here. We'll have to change that. We probably have a couple of Vietnam War veterans among us, I would imagine. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Okay, but then we get on down into the Gulf War. I guess we have some. And of course, the infamous Iraq and Afghanistan. I would hold up with one hand. I have a grandson in there, but he's not here tonight. He's a firefighter. But in any case, an awful lot is owed to the veterans. When I talk about that, you see how great the veterans are. And they are. They're wonderful. What they've done to the country, and they've done so much that the country couldn't exist without them. You know that. If you don't know that, you should, because it couldn't. And so what am I doing? I'm bragging about myself. All right? I just like Mark was doing a while ago and talking about the veterans and everything, like he wasn't one, and of course he is one, and a very distinguished one. So we actually made this country possible. Not alone, you understand. A few other folks had an awful lot to do with getting us to where we are. But we were a key part of it. We always will be, because unfortunately the world is populated with human beings. And if they hadn't have done that, then it could have been a lot simpler. But that was done, and so we are necessary in some form or another. Perhaps we can get to where that form won't have to be so virulent, but anyway, we've always been necessary, we always will be, and I want to thank each and every one of you good ladies and gentlemen for your service to our country. And once again, of course, I'm thanking myself. I'm so silly. But we couldn't be here without you, us. And so I know I'm expressing the appreciation of all of the folks who aren't military, that they really appreciate everything that we have done. Thank you very much.
Can't thank you enough, Eric. Got a lot of other veterans here, and I don't know if we can all fit in our uniforms like you are. Alan can, but I don't know about me. A couple things you mentioned there, veterans, and we had a tour recently with the Carson family. And the Carson family, if you recall, there's Carson Center, named after William Carson, and he helped with that company called Hercules. He was vice president of Hercules. They made Carson Center, naming after him, also Camp Carson. But really what I want to say is he was a pilot in World War II. And if you go to our exhibit over in this other area, we have exhibited a lady here who's named Carol Brinker Dean, and her dad is commemorated there. We put him on YouTube recently, and he died at age 94. We put him on at age 93, but he flew the hump. The hump was in World War II, flew from India to China. Mr. Carson, when we brought their family around, they wouldn't leave that exhibit because their dad flew the hump in World War II. So his grandfather helped create those, the thing that Caddick brought it to us, Hercules. A guy named Ellis Carson, who was a pilot, helped make Sunbeam Plastics. It was on this property, but all these little exhibits here on the other side of this cabinet are little miniature planes that Mr. Carson, he had a fetish over that, and they used to be in our airport, but they're exactly to scale, and they actually are world-class exhibits of a lot of World War II planes given to us by Ellis Carson. So, Mr. Brinker, Mr. Carson, flew the hump. That was in World War II. It's very important. And these P-47s behind me helped protect them. It was called Tin Alley. Not many people survived that. But if you didn't have a protector carrying your supplies over to the largest air transport, except for the Berlin raid, or the Berlin, when we did it in Berlin, it's the biggest, largest transport of goods ever that happened to mankind over by air. So we have a museum here. The only thing I want to tell you is that we want all of you to tell your grandkids, your nieces, your nephews. You have to say for Christmas, for Hanukkah, for anything, you give me a gift. And the gift is to come out here and let us have a tour of this place. We want it to happen. And the next generation has to have this. And I can't tell you how much we mean that. We have over 50 people working for $0 here, and their heart and souls are on that. But it doesn't matter about them. It matters about the next 2 or 3 generations below us. And they won't just show up here. They have to be told to come out here and made to come out here. The Evansville Teachers Credit Union is going to give a coupon, a 2-for-1 deal. And that means you get one person free and they will pay for the other person. They're giving us a great deal. So you look in the Evansville Teachers Credit Union, you can find a coupon and get a 2-for-1 deal. And that's what's going to bring these kids out. But I can't say it enough of how important the next generation is. So this is Veterans Day. We're called our country is unbelievable because we have 3 things. And no other country has that. We've got a good military. That's what veterans are about. We have good business. We have a good educational system. You go to China, China has good business, but they don't have the military yet. If you go to Russia, when they fell, they have a great military, but they didn't have business. You have to have all 3, education, business, and military. We are a superpower because of that, but we have to maintain that superpower ability. And without the military, we will not maintain our ability to be a superpower. So thank you, and thank you for honoring the veterans today. Make yourself at home here. All the staff here, Mr. Tiemann, Mrs. Tiemann, all the volunteers. He helped you get other volunteers, and him and his wife did a lot to get this to happen today. Thank you very much.